So again, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to the Global Domain Report Webinar 2024. My name is Lars Steffen. I'm the head of International Digital Infrastructures and Resilience at ECO, Association of the Internet Industry. And it's my great pleasure today to have with me two experts from the industry. Those are Simone Catania, Global Content and Communications Manager at InterNetX, and Christian Voss, CMO of Sedo. And they will present today the most recent edition of the Global Domain Report, Deep Dive into Domains. It's a good tradition now already. So we started the series of webinars already in 2020. So it's good to have you back and have this annual report and status of the industry. Before we begin with the webinar, just to get you through our housekeeping rules. So of course, it's a webinar, it's being recorded, and the recording will be available after the meeting. You're muted throughout the webinar. Of course, you are welcome to ask questions. So on the right-hand side of your screen, on the GoToWebinar dashboard, you have a questions pod, so where you can type in your question, or if you would like to raise your question verbally, please use the raise your hand functionality, and we will unmute you. Please state your name and affiliation before you ask a question. And after the webinar, you will have the opportunity to provide feedback. So there will be a quick survey that will be displayed on your screen, and help us please to improve our services and the webinars, and please provide some feedback after the webinar. And with this, I don't want to lose any more time and hand over to our experts, to Simone and Christian. And I think Simone will go first with the status of the industry. So Simone, the floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today and welcome to our webinar. I hope you are all excited as I am to dive into today's topic. Before we begin, let me thank you, our host, Thomas, Lars, and the entire team at ECO for inviting us today and organizing this session. Quick introduction. My name is Simone Catania, and I have the pleasure of serving InterNetX as a global and content communication manager. I've been part of this vibrant industry for over 7 years now, and I've witnessed myself the evolution and transformation firsthand. And I'm really glad to have this valuable perspective on the domain market with you today. On this journey, I'm today with Christian Voss. Hello, Christian. A pleasure to see you again and have you with us today again this year. And Christian and I, we are going to explore the trend, transformation, and trajectory that shape the future of domains. Next slide. Next one, sorry. So let me present you what makes the Global Domain Report special in a few quick points. It's 80 pages packed with cool stuff you need to know about domain names. We got 90 charts and graphs to show you everything in a way that is easy to understand. We analyze information and data from 15 sources to ensure we are telling the whole story. And you will hear, or let's better say, you can read from 20 big names in the industry sharing their point of views. And like every year, there is a special chapter, and this focus this year is on tech and AI, because that's where many new and exciting things are happening, right? In short, this report are everything you need to know to get smart about domain names and what's coming next. Next slide. Our presentation is divided in 4 segments. I will start with an overview of the domain industry, and then we will delve into the top 10 TLDs with some specific insight. Finally, I will discuss about AI and the relationship with domains. A spotlight will be the .ai extension. And then Christian will take over and he will talk about the domain aftermarket. Slide. Let's get started with some key features. As we kicked off 2024, the domain industry continued on a solid growth trajectory. At the close of the previous year, we observed 360 million registered domains, bringing an unhealthy 2.5 year-over-year increase. So what are the major factors fueling this growth? Well, the continuous digitalization trend, the expansion of e-commerce even after COVID, and the increasing need of businesses for a digital identity. Next. Here are the 10 most popular TLDs by the number of registrations. The charts include 3 legacy TLD and 7 ccTLD. What you can see is that the chart remains largely unchanged from last year. .com remains there. It dominates the registration market in terms of number and usage. .ml, the ccTLD for Mali, emerged on the scene with an impressive 30 year-over-year growth. It spotlights the rapid digital expansion in Africa. One more remark about this chart. You can see the TLD.ml.ga for Ghana, .tk for Tokelau. This TLD faced obstacle at the end of this year. Freenom OpenTDL, the registry operator and registrar, lost its ICANN accreditation in November 2023 due to ongoing non-compliance issues. So the situation might have far-reaching impact on the registration number of this TLD and probably on this chart as well. So it's interesting to see how the situation will develop next year. Slide. Our focus is now on .com. It continues to reign supreme, and remarkably, more than 50% of all .com websites are hosted in the US, and nearly 40% of all .com host a fully functional dynamic website, and this figure is above the average in the industry. But despite the dominance, .com experienced a slight decline of 0.6% year-over-year. My question, is this just the start of the decline of .com after 2 decades of predominance? Let's see, only time will tell. Next slide. So at InterNetX, we offer trademark services to protect domain names under trademark rights. In the first graph above, you can see different TLDs that companies seek to protect. Among all those TLDs, domain under .com are the ones the most business wants to secure. The chart also include GTLDs and predominant European ccTLD like .uk, .de, .eu. And the second graph shows how often .com domains are queried in our domain price check compared to the average prices. Here again, .com leads the pack with the highest number of requests, and they also have the highest average prices out of all the TLDs we track. Another interesting point in this chart is to note that some domains have higher searches but lower prices. For example, take the first 3 of the chart, and you can see that .net has a higher mean price but lower request if you compare it with .de, meaning that an higher search volume does not correlate with high prices. You can find more detailed information about mean prices in our report. Next. We are going to see our next segment about ccTLD. They are 2-letter extensions specific to countries and territories. Today, there are 308 ccTLDs, including internationalized domain names. ccTLD have a significant presence with a 30% of all global domain registration. Once again, 30%. And this top TLD in our chart dominate the market. Together, they make up nearly 60% of all ccTLD registration, which is truly remarkable. Let me add 3 regional highlights about this chart. In our report, we feature 20 ccTLD. 10 out of 20, it means half of all these ccTLD are European one. This says much about how strong ccTLD are in Europe. And meanwhile, we are also witnessing a digital expansion in Africa with Mali's .ml, Equatorial Guinea, GQ. They are recording exponential growth. They are a true testament to the increasing online presence of the continent. African ccTLD are growing by 25-30% year-over-year. Last note, go to the Chinese ccTLD.cn. This ccTLD made a big jump this year. Let's see how it will do in the next couple of years, since they have a big potential. Previous one? This one, yeah. In 2000, yeah, we're now going to talk about new GTLDs. In 2024, new GTLD witnessed a growth rate of nearly 15% year-over-year. They demonstrate an increasing role in the market. And with the new GTLD round scheduled for 2026, the potential for innovation and expansion in this segment is growing, is huge. Let's look at the chart on the right. Despite the ballooning variety, nearly half of all new GTLD websites are a tactical redirect to their .com versions. This means that new GTLD might be registered mostly for brand protection or marketing redirect, but .com still remains the top choice. Data also reveal that more than 50% of these new GTLD websites do not have a developed website. Slide. This is the chart with the top 10 new GTLDs. Mostly remain unchanged. XYZ still leads the pack, and it has been the #1 for years now. Recently, it has become especially popular among blockchain, Web3, cryptocurrency, but in this chart, we also have some new entries, .cft, .app, and .click. Each of them, they are carving out their own niches, namely fashion design, tech, and click being more action related. Slide. So these stars represent the TLD that have shown remarkably year-over-year growth in 2023. Do you see that? These are all new GTLDs. Among them, .lad is the one that performed them all, becoming the fast-growing TLD in 2023. This TLD recognizes Latin American and Caribbean internet community in the namespace. Its growth can be attributed to many factors, probably including the booming Latin American digital space, an increasing online presence by local businesses, but also a deep cultural and linguistic connection of this community. Next. Let's explore the trend in premium domain name at InterNetX. As you can see, .co leads the pack in our premium domain name segment. What is fueling its surge? At first glance, it could be its versatility. .co is recognized as an abbreviation for company, corporation, commerce. It's short, memorable, and maybe it has a global appeal for business worldwide. But let's not overlook our rising star in this chart, the new TLDs. They are growing, and how? They are redefining premium digital identities, giving more choices and customability to user. We have observed a significant uptake in sectors like tech, e-commerce, media. So essentially any field that's value a unique online presence. So they opt for a premium domain name. Slide. Now we delve in the last segment of my presentation of my part, which will be about AI. Our AI, artificial intelligence, is becoming a significant and lasting trend. According to me, its practical application and proven benefit make it more sustainable than the theoretical nature of what we had in the last couple of years, like metaverse, crypto, NFT, and Web3. This is because AI is likely to shape and is already shaping the industry, and it will do this for years to come. In this slide, I summarized some interesting data about this industry. The AI industry is projected to produce $305 billion at the end of this year, and this figure is going to be more than double by 2030. And when it comes to domain, the biggest domain sale at Sedo, sorry Christian, I'm stealing you some data, was a domain under .ai. And at InterNetX, .ai was the TLD with the largest growth year over year. So it's quite impressive what this extension is experiencing. Next. If you download our report, you can also learn how AI will impact the domain industry in these 7 tangible ways. You can read them in our report, but I'm just going to summarize the key ideas here. And that is that AI technology enables personalized domain name suggestions and will automate, and is already automating, domain name management. It can also facilitate rapid dispute resolution and provides data-driven insight for better investment decision and market trend understanding. This is very good for domain investor, for example. Lastly, there is also the domain security factor. By analyzing real-time data for threat detection, AI can potentially protect against DDoS attacks and phishing attempts. Again, the potential of this new technology of AI for the domain industry is huge. Next one. The AI revolution also brought up something to the namespace, and that is the extension .ai. It was originally designed as a country code top-level domain for Anguilla, a small island in the Caribbean. But it went beyond its geographical borders to become associated with artificial intelligence. This TLD has experienced a surge in registration over the past 2 years. The data you see in the slide comes directly from the registry. I had the pleasure to talk with Vincent Cade, who is the technical manager of the .ai registry, and he told us that this growth happened when OpenAI released ChatGPT to the public. Only in the past 12 months, the registration for this extension have tripled. And as I told you before, .ai was the TLD with the largest growth at InterNetX, and this is why .ai is our star. But let me add a personal remark about this topic and what makes the domain industry so interesting to me. I find really fascinating how the evolution of AI tied to its humble origin in a small Caribbean island when to become a global symbol for innovation in artificial intelligence. It's, to me, sounds like a plot of a Hollywood movie. Next slide. Now we are going to see a couple of technical data facts about .ai. Lots of websites with .ai are hosted in North America and Europe. In fact, about 65% of all AI websites are hosted in the US, with Germany, India, and Canada also hosting quite a few. 45% of all AI websites are usually available. They are working, fully operational, and they host business-related content. And if you remember, .com had an average of 40%. This means .ai domains are lively domain. They are used by company mostly related with AI or tech in general, and they have a sense of vitality and dynamism. Next. To close this section about AI, I have some pricing facts. According to our internal calculation at InterNetX as a registrar, in 2023, the cost to register an AI domain went up nearly by 17% compared to previous year. Looking at specific example from that Sedo shared with us, Poker AI, back in 2008, this domain was sold for $2,500. Now the same domain, Poker AI, is up for sale with a starting price of a whopping $95,000. This means an increase of 3,700 in 15 years. That's very interesting for domain investor and for those who already acquired AI domains years ago. And in general, right now, AI domains cost more than .com domains. Next. It's time to add my final remarks about the industry. And by 2024, we are sure that domain industry will keep experiencing a substantial market growth. There will be a significant market impact as more business venture into online operation. However, we know that due to increasing demand, competition in the market, economic challenge worldwide, there is also the factor of pricing. Pricing might undergo increases. The industry is about to embrace enhanced security measure and growing domain price services. This can be attributed to the increasing regulatory imposition and the rising need for cybersecurity. Just to name one, the NIS2 directive. And furthermore, there is also the topic of increasing advanced AI technology. It's going to reshape the industry. It will provide automated, efficient mechanism, but it will also drive more growth. So to conclude, the domain industry is changing. It might look different in a couple of years, but no matter what, the industry is growing and is thriving. That was my final statement. That's all from my side. I hope you enjoyed. Let's keep in touch. You will find my email at the end of the presentation. Let's connect on LinkedIn. And I leave the stage to Christian. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Simone. Yes, I wanted to just hand over to Christian to provide an update on the aftermarket perspective. So, and if there are questions from the floor, please use the questions pod or raise your hand if there are any questions. So, Christian, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Simone, for the registrar perspective, which is always very helpful because the numbers are much bigger when it comes to overall registrations. Now it's my task to let you know what happened on the aftermarket. So already registered domains for the last 25 years, which are on sale, where we have the data. So next slide for the first key numbers for last year. The average price went up a little bit. The median price also went up a little bit, and despite any external circumstances, as you are all aware of, we have one, at least now last year, we got 2 wars happening, and it was an overall very successful year for the domain aftermarket. There was active trading, and both the average and the median price, they went up compared to the previous years. The average price went up by 13% compared to 2022, and the median price went up by even 27% compared to the year before. That is actually pretty surprising and shows a very fruitful future for the domain aftermarket. When we're looking at the traded TLDs, they were more or less the same. And a little decrease we saw in the buy now sales of just 73% compared to 74% the year before. But that is that has an internal reason, because we are doing more auctions than we did the year before. So we are selling now more domains through auctions than we did in 2022. We're having more themed auctions, and we are, and this sales channel is distributing a little bit more sales in 2023. That's why the overall amount is a little bit smaller when it comes to buy now sales. Next slide, please. When we're talking about the top selling TLDs, they revealed popular among all domain buyers. Of course, top TLD is still .com with 55%, and most of the others remain more or less the same, plus minus 0.1%. There are some exceptions that we have an XYZ went out from the top 10, got been replaced by .io and .ai. Simone already mentioned it. .ai took a huge chunk last year, and when it came to average and top sales, and these are of course domains we as end users and we as domain investors should keep an eye on. And .ch is a little surprising for all of us, but at the end we are talking about 1% of overall our sales. So there are also a lot of other new GTLDs in that list, .store, .app, .online, but at the end we're talking about the remaining all-time favorite .de as the country code for Germany, with more than 17 million domains already registered. .net, .org, EU, they were in the top 10 the years before also. Next slide, please. We are not allowed to talk about any domains which where we're not allowed to talk to, because usually the prices are much higher when they are confidential sales. So we are talking just about the publicly announced sales, and surprise, surprise, it is a .ai domain. It's not taken by a .com sale last year, so it's the u.ai. which was bought, fun fact, by the CTO and co-founder of HubSpot. And this is the biggest openly announced sale on the Sedo platform. The other domains which are sold last year, except place number 8, npc.ai, for $250,000, All others are top sales in the .com space. There are abbreviation, there are really names, there are really words, whiskey.com, solarenergy.com. So these are descriptive words. These are category killer. You need it to take that place when you want to conquer and when you want to own that space. But there are also, of course, some short abbreviations, some descriptive keywords as well. Yesterday, the highest since yesterday or till yesterday, it was a confidential day. It was a confidential deal, but then the number was disclosed and confirmed. Not at Sedo, but the biggest sale last year was chat.com with a sales price of $15.5 million US. So last year, all the rumors were somewhere above 10 million, but then it was confirmed yesterday that was the sales price of 15.5 million. Next slide, please. Talking about top public CCTLD sales. Sometimes I have the feeling that CCTLD and UGTLDs are merging or becoming more or less one, like what Simone already said, .ai for the internet country code for Anguilla, the British overseas territories in the Caribbean, or .io is assigned to the British Indian Ocean Territory, and others like .eu. Europe isn't a country, but it's also listed here in this list. So as said, the top CCTLD sale last year and overall was u.ai, followed by another .ai, and followed by a couple of Spanish sales, normal or normal.es for 65,000, or a German domain magnet.de. So there you see these strong markets, these high sales for already existing companies who would like to replace their current domain name and buying a shorter one, buying that space or buying out that space just to keep it and to have it that no other can take over this space by owning these category killers or these abbreviations. Next slide, please. 10 years ago, the new GTLDs, around 10 years ago, the new GTLDs were introduced, and almost everybody in the industry was excited. And everybody thought they will kill everything. We need them. They will subsidize all the crappy domain names in the .com or in the CCTLD space, and the demand for these new domains and these new extensions were increasing. Yes, but slowly, steady but slowly, and they are becoming slowly an alternative to CCTLDs and to .coms. In 2023, domain prices in the 5-digit range saw further escalation with some nice, very good .xyz leadings in sales continuing its momentum from 2022. While favorites remained relatively stable, like .store, .online, .shop, .club, these are still very stable domain sales. The top 3 of the new GTLDs on the aftermarket are still .xyz, .online, and .shop. And you can see it pretty clear on this top 10 list. There are, of course, a couple of .xyz, but also some .tube or the biggest sale in the new GTLD sale, w.app. Which is clearly a pretty funny, pretty good, pretty domain hacky name, and it's already in good hands. Next slide, please. When we're talking about the average domain prices, usually we just compare 1 year with another, but due to COVID, we decided to make a 3-year comparison. So you see the average prices in dark blue of 2021, in the lighter blue, in the middle blue, the average prices in 2022, and in light blue, the average prices in 2023. And you see a lot of spikes, a lot of trends, while the .com average prices went up from 2022 to 2023 just by 17%, .fr by 41%, the .ai, as Simone already mentioned, another going through the roof TLD, it's the .ai, so by 53% from 22 to 23. So this average prices, due to some very, very high sales, they were pretty impressive. While others like CO UK had an increase of 1%, .co also had a huge increase from 2022 to 2023, but they are more or less in the same range than they were a year before when we were in 2021. So it depends on the TLD and what we're looking for when we're comparing them. But in general, there are some TLDs which had a huge spike in the average sales price, and some were more or less stable. On the next slide, we see the median price, where we the median price is the more important number for domain investors, as it is less influenced by record sales, and it gives a more realistic view on the value. But even the median price, as I mentioned in my first slide, went up by more than 20%. And when so most of the median prices also went up. Now the specific case, when we look at .ai, you can see that the drop by 50% in its median value, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the domain is losing value. It means simply that more people are buying .ai for an affordable price. And looking at the median value of .com, the increase of 66% shares the information that even more .coms were sold in the 4 and 5 digit range, instead of having a lot of blockbuster, really high sales last year. When we are talking about the next slide, when we're talking about our Sedo sales channels, again, I can just talk about insights from Sedo. This is not a general view, because I would say we are one of the few companies who are sharing this information, and we are not sharing it for the last 4 years. We are sharing it for the last 20 or 25 years. So we would like to educate the audience and to make domain trading an interesting business. And that's why we invite almost everybody to share their information with us, that we can put them next time in our next presentation. But now we can just talk about the Sedo numbers, and we are also sharing this information about the sales channels we are selling our domains. As said before, the buy now is in the 73 range, a pretty stable number that we are selling more than 70% with a fixed price. That means the customer goes to our website. Not just one customer, 53% to be precise, are going to our website and buy their domain with a fixed price. It makes sense. You don't want to negotiate with every product you see. Sometimes you see it and you like it, but you don't want to wait for any response from the seller. So fixed pricing a domain name really makes sense. Make offer just went down to 12%. Like 10 years ago, 15 years ago, make offer had a much higher hype, had a much higher spike when it came to domain sales. But the industry got older, it got more mature, and the pricing is more stable. Auctions, as said, we have a chunk of 8%. Brokerage is doing 4% in our case, and external transfers, external agreements are doing 3%. So again, the popularity in fixed price sales can be attributed to buyers' desire for quick acquisition. And in our case, in Sedo's case, the advantages of just having a 10% sales commission when the seller pointing their domains to our marketplace and using our sales lender, using our sales price. But again, almost 50%, so let's be precise, 47% of our buyers are buying by their known registrar, by their preferred registrar, who are part of our Sedo MLS network. So they see a domain, they trust their registrar, they see a domain from our marketplace, which is listed at their registrar, and they can trust, and then they buy it in their normal behavior, with their normal behavior and in their normal environment. So that's a trustworthy part in selling their domain, but still more domains trust Sedo as a brand, going directly and saving some percentage in commission, just paying 50%, just paying 10% commission on their sales. Next slide, please. Speaking about Sedo MLS, a lot of registrars, when joining the program, had the perception that nobody's buying expensive domains through their website because they didn't have the feeling that it doesn't work on a normal level to buy an expensive website and an expensive domain through their registrar website. But Skywin for $275,000, Socrates.xyz for almost $75,000. These are all pretty good domain sales on the registrar website through the Sedo MLS network. So that gives a pretty good overview that it's working, that it is a good profit channel for the registrars who are associated to our Sedo MLS network. Next slide, please. And so Simone already spotlighted the .ai, which we also would like to have a closer eye on. That you see the TLDs, and they exceeded expectations, I would say, tremendously. So even though the artificial intelligence was firstly introduced in, I think, 73 or 57 or 53, this is it became very, very popular, of course, in November 22 when OpenAI announced ChatGPT, and everybody then had a feeling that AI should be or will be the next big thing. The first graph shows the number of transactions from 21 to 23. With the announcement of ChatGPT, the run on AI domains exploded. And you see it in these first two columns in 21 and 23. That .io still had the majority, but in 23 .ai overtook .io, and that became very, very popular. A lot of startups in the years before, they used the .io extension because it was hip and it was something new, and it had a lot of alternatives, available alternatives, but they were replaced more or less by .ai as the biggest new and hippest new GTLD or TLD. Sorry, not new GTLD. So for the hippest TLD they can buy. The prices are still very stable for .io domains, and as you saw it already, they are going through the roof in some cases with .ai domain names. Next slide, please. And what we see on our marketplace are the trendiest keywords when it comes to sales, but also when it comes to search. Of course, the biggest one, AI, all-time classic like casino and money and gold and win and crypto. And NFTs are slightly smaller. The weed, the cannabis, the consumption of weed got more and more popular, got legalized in a lot of states. So cannabis is also very, very popular, and we sold a lot of domain here. But also when some earthquakes, when some tsunamis, when some weather news occurred, like Maui, these domain names are also, then the search on our website is also going through the roof through these new terms and these keywords. So long story short, the biggest new trend everybody should keep an eye on is artificial intelligence that will keep us in their wings, in their arms, in their claws for the next couple of years at least. It's a new it's a new technology everybody should take care of. Simone already mentioned it, that it gives a lot of opportunities. Of course, when there are opportunities, there are also a lot of threats. But from our perspective, we see a lot of potential in these .ai domain names. And it will be for the whole domain space, and for the domain space in general will be a profit center, and it will drive the industry big time, and it will continue that path. Thank you very much. On the last slide, you still have the download link for the global domain report. You can download, you got much more data in that. You have special sections for a lot of CCTLDs, you got special sections and spotlights for other TLDs, a lot of insight. And if you collect all the global domain reports from the years before, you can see how the development for certain top level domains, for certain domain sales, how they improved or how they decreased. And it's always a good source whenever it comes to domain related questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Christian. Thank you for the insights in your recent analysis of the aftermarket. I've got one question in the questions pod, and it's for both of you. If you are able to put out your crystal ball and taking a look at the next round of new GTLDs, do you see a demand in that market for new strings?
I'll go first. I'm sure there will be a demand as long as the TLD reach a specific niche. That is probably the major factor fueling a domain name. And it might also be time sensitive, like we have seen now with .ai. Although we are talking about a CCTLD, you never know what trend is coming up. You never know what industry might embrace a certain TLD, like with XYZ in the crypto market, Web3. So yeah, I think there is a market for also other new GTLDs.
I'm glad you didn't ask about the size of the new market and who will actually survive and who will actually be one of the successful TLDs. So there is, and I agree with Simone, there is still room for new TLDs. But we saw it in the last round. There are a couple of domains. There are a couple of TLDs which were successful. The last round is not over yet, so let's see till everything is finished and that we can start from zero again. But as Simone already said, there will be room for some new TLDs, not a whole bunch, I would say, but for some there will be room because the internet doesn't stop, the history doesn't stop, and the improvement doesn't stop. So there will always be more room for other TLDs. That's for sure.
Okay, thank you. I mean, from my perspective, it was very interesting to see that the market structure is not carved in stone, so that we have trends like .ai, as you described in the report. Just one question out of curiosity: was this a development that you already saw to that extent over the last year, or was it the full scope of the development of .ai something that was revealed by your aggregation of data for the report?
From the aftermarket perspective, I could say I think OpenAI announced ChatGPT on the 30th of November, and from the 2nd of December it took off. And it wasn't a domain spike like Meta when Facebook announced their rebranding. So everything Meta connected was sold, and everybody registered so many meta domains. So this is not just one company. .ai is an industry. It's a brand new stream. So we saw it instantly, and it was predictable at the end of 2022, and that in 23 it will become the major seller. Yes.
Okay, great. One more question from the questions part is, Simone, you already mentioned the NIS2 directive, and along with the NIS2 directive comes more requirements on the verification and validation of registration data. Do you think this will have an impact on the volume and the number of registrations in the future if we have stricter regulations on the verification of registrant data? Or is it too early to predict?
Yeah, of course. Right now, I don't have the knowledge to say if the volume will increase or decrease, but for sure there will be more restriction. Registration privacy data might change, but this doesn't mean that it will take to a decrease in registration because registrants still have the need to be online. So this will come on top.
Okay, thank you. So I don't see any further questions in the questions part. So with this, I would like to say thank you to Simone. Thank you, Christian, for the most recent update. And for the people in the audience, please don't forget to download your own copy of the full report because it includes much more data and much more details. If you have enjoyed this webinar, in 2 weeks' time, we will have the next eco webinar for the domain industry. I just share the link in the chat. So we will introduce you to RDRS, the new system for to request whois data. So if you're interested in how this RDRS system works and what it's all about, don't forget to register for that webinar. And 1 week later, we will provide the next top DNS best practice webinar, so where we will discuss best practices around the fighting of DNS abuse. So PIR, the .org registry, and the Internet Watch Foundation will present their latest collaboration to provide access to IWF data to fight CSAM online. So this is also the next webinar that you can find on our website for registration. So with this, thank you very much for your participation. If you would like to provide feedback, please use the survey that will be shown right after this webinar. Again, Simone, Christian, thank you for taking the time. See you again next year. And this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Goodbye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.